Namaste, angels. This will be our weekly general reading for the period of Sunday, November 19th through Saturday, the 25th. And I think I'm going to start with the astrology and get that out of the way. So today, the day on which I'm doing this reading is 11/18. Right now, it is 8:38 precisely. That may have something to do with Saint Germain and his divine feminine, Lady Portia. Also, perhaps representing abundance, justice, strength. That's what those numbers 8 and 11 would represent. After today is the 21st, next up, at least on my radar, and the sun enters Sagittarius on the 21st. Also on the 21st, having to do with astronomy, Venus in transit with Pluto. Venus, which is in Scorpio, in a transit with Pluto, which rules Scorpio. It should be a very favorable transit, as they say. The 22nd, Neptune goes direct. Neptune, which is in Pisces, the sign that it rules, in retrograde, it goes direct also in Pisces on the 22nd, 11/22. So that's exciting too. A big energy-packed week we got here. Because on the 19th, not having to do necessarily with astrology, but in general, I did a reading for on behalf of, or in honor of, King Osiris. Also, the 19th is the first day of the month of Kislev on the Hebrew or Jewish calendar. On the Christian calendar this week, we have also on the 21st. I knew there was something else on the 21st. Forgive me, Mother, for almost forgetting this one. I had to look it up. Usually I don't write stuff down, and that's another story. Never mind. On the 21st is the presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Maybe because I didn't want to refer to anything about the Blessed Virgin Mary. Similar to how I feel, and those of you who watched my King Osiris reading, you know how I feel and how I get, because I explained it, about reading stories that I know aren't true. About King Osiris, Queen Isis. Similarly, I feel the same way about Mary. And a lot of places that you look up the presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the information is going to be incorrect. And so I have the calendar open, but I do not have anything from which to read about the presentation of Mary. I will tell you myself from my perspective. And you can feel free to look it up elsewhere as you see fit, of course. That's it as far as what I'm going to go over. The 22nd is in honor of Saint Cecilia. The 23rd, Saint Clement I, Pope and Martyr. Saint Columban, religious blessed Miguel Augustine, who was a priest and a martyr. The 24th, Saint Andrew Dung and his companions, also all of them martyrs. Saint Catherine, rather, of Alexandria on the 25th, on Saturday. Next week, however, you guys know, like one of my most favorite saints and apostles is Andrew. He is celebrated next week on the 30th, or recognized. But prior to that, and more importantly, and even to St. Andrew, he would agree, more importantly, the 26th, next Sunday, is the feast day of Christ the King. So we'll have some big ones to go over then. But for now, that's it. So I'm going to jump to Kislev right away. Did I talk too fast to make note that the 21st is a whole bunch going on? The sun enters Sagittarius. We have the presentation of Mary. So there is spiritual energy as well. And we have Venus. So there's planetary or astronomical and astrological energy going on as well. We have Venus in transit with Pluto. Pluto, which rules Scorpio, Venus, which is in Scorpio. Okay. Actually, I think later in the week, there's something too with Mercury. Thursday, maybe. Mercury doing something not so favorable. Mercury, which is in its shadow of retrograde. I mentioned that the other day. All right. So let me keep my promise here and go to the Jewish month of Kislev, which again is on the 19th, the same day that we honor by his instruction, the day that he told me to use, King Osiris, 1119. So Kislev is the 9th month on the Jewish calendar. Now I am reading from something. This is Shabbat.org. But I think I told you guys this stuff from memory the other day on one of the videos I did, probably the King Osiris video, but I went over this briefly. Kislev is the 9th month of the Jewish calendar, counting from Nisan. What it doesn't say here, what it doesn't go on to say is if you're counting from Rosh Hashanah, it's the 3rd month of what would be called the civil year. That is from my head. That is not here. Going back to this, it is best known for the holiday of Hanukkah, which begins on the 25th of Kislev. Also, the 19th of Kislev is the day that the Hasidic tradition began. It's like the birth of the Hasidim, but that's not here either. So let me get back on track. I'm sorry. Okay. So not the 19th of the month, the 19th of Kislev. I want to differentiate. And this is referring to the 25th of Kislev, the first day of Hanukkah. The message of Hanukkah is the eternal power of light over darkness, good over evil. Similar to Diwali. I mentioned that the other day too. That's not here either. Aside from commemorating the miraculous victory of the small and militarily weak Jewish army over the mighty Syrian Greek Empire, on Hanukkah we celebrate the miracle of the oil. When the Jews sought to light the temple menorah after the war, they found only a small jug of oil that had not been defiled by pagan invaders. Miraculously, the one-day supply burned for 8 days until new, pure oil could be obtained. In commemoration, the sages instituted the 8-day festival of Hanukkah, on which we kindle the menorah nightly to recall and publicize the miracle. Hanukkah is particularly significant to women, as it was Yehudit, also known as Judith. That's not here, but I'm telling you, Yehudit is her Hebrew name. Also, the letter J didn't exist at this time, so her name is spelled Yehduit. Similarly, Jesus' name is not Jesus, not spelled Jesus. Anyway, with her wise and daring plan, who shifted the tide of war and began the Jewish victory. So, as I began to tell you the other day, over and over and over again in the scriptures, a female and or feminine energy, it's traditionally female also, leads first. Yes, eventually men show up and they lead, but the females or the feminine leads first, and that's what we have to do as well. That's just the way it's written. That's just the way it is. If you're, on this journey, if you want to create some other sort of journey for yourself, your own, that's okay too. People are free to do whatever they want to do. But if you're following this one, this is the way that this one goes. In accordance with the prophecies and other stuff that's written. Also, during the month of Kislev, we celebrate the redemption of Rabbi Shuner Zalman of Liadi, the founder of Chabad Hasidism. So they're saying what I mentioned earlier, although I can't say it anymore, it seems. He was imprisoned on false charges by a czarist regime where he faced the death penalty. These charges were reflective of spiritual charges brought against him in the heavenly court for openly teaching the deepest insights of the Torah. So similar to Jesus, this man was persecuted for his religious beliefs and given the death penalty. On the 19th of Kislev, if I had known it was going to be here, I wouldn't have mentioned it. I would have let it flow better and make more sense. On the 19th of Kislev, he was cleared of all charges and freed. So that part is unlike Jesus, paving the way both physically and spiritually to continue teaching Hasidism. This day is referred to as the New Year of Hasidism. So I referred to it as the birth. I guess the official name is the New Year. The story of Yehudit, and I found one here on Shabbat.org. So I probably wasn't meant to do one the other day when I said, you know what, let me wait for the weekly. It was probably so I could learn that there was one here. So this is also from Shabbat.org. The story of Yehudit, the woman who saved the day. It is not clearly known when the story, which we're about to tell, actually took place. The story first appeared in a very ancient book named after the heroine, Yehudit or Judith, and it was written in Hebrew. However, the original text was lost and only a Greek translation remained, and not a very accurate one at that. The story was retold in different versions. According to one version, it happened during the time of the Maccabean revolt. So Maccabees is a book that is sometimes removed depending upon your Bible, but it is part of the Bible, part of the Torah. In any case, the time of the Maccabean revolt against Syrian oppression. And Yehudit was a daughter of the Yohanan, which is really Jonathan, because again, J didn't exist. So this is spelled I'm spelling it yo. This is spelled Yochanan, the high priest. Okay, that was her father's name, Yohanan, but it's Jonathan. Father of the Hasmonean family. At any rate, the heroic deed of Yehudit has inspired faith and courage in the hearts of Jews throughout the ages. The town of Bethulia in the land of Judea came under siege by Holofernes, Holofерnes, a mighty Syrian Greek general at the head of a huge army. Holofernes was notorious for his cruelty in suppressing rebellions. When he captured a rebel stronghold, he showed no mercy to the men, women, and children sheltered there. Now he was determined to crush the rebellion of the town of Bethulia, whose inhabitants refused to recognize the oppressive rule of the Syrians. The men of the beleaguered town fought bravely and desperately to repulse the repeated assaults by the superior enemy forces. I don't know why I can't talk today. I apologize. Maybe because of that Mercury retrograde or Mercury in shadow. I am ruled by Mercury, or Gemini is ruled by Mercury, co-ruled Mercury and Venus. Anyway, seeing that he couldn't take the fortified town by force, Holofernes decided to starve the inhabitants into submission. He cut off the food and water supply, and before long, the town was indeed brought to the verge of surrender. Hungry and thirsty, and in utter despair, the townspeople gathered in the marketplace and demanded that rather than die of hunger and thirst, they should surrender to the army. Uzziah, Uzziah, the commander of the defense forces and the elders of the town, tried to calm the populace without success. Finally, they pleaded, "Give us 5 more days. If no salvation comes by the end of the 5 days, we will surrender. Just 5 more days." Reluctantly, the people agreed, and slowly they dispersed. Only one person, a woman, remained in her place, as if riveted to it, and she addressed Uzziah and the elders, who had also turned to go. Her voice was clear and firm. "Why do you test God, giving him only 5 days in which to send us help? If you truly have faith in God, you must never give up your trust in him. Besides, don't you know that surrender to Holofernes is worse than death?" So spoke Yehudit, the noble daughter of Yochanan, the high priest. She was a young widow. It was several years since she had lost her beloved husband, Menashe, Menashe, and she had devoted all her time to prayer and acts of charity ever since. Yehudit was blessed with extraordinary charm, grace, and beauty, but she was particularly respected and admired for her devoutness, modesty, and loving kindness. Yehudit's words made a deep impression on Uzziah and the elders. "You're right, daughter," they admitted. "But what can we do? Only a downpour of rain that would fill our empty cisterns could save our people, but it is not the rainy season. We are all suffering the pangs of hunger and thirst. Pray for us, Yehudit, and maybe God will accept your prayers." "We must all continue to pray and never despair God's help," Yehudit said. "But I have also thought of a plan. I ask your permission to leave town together with my maid. I want to go to Holofernes." Uzziah and the elders were shocked and dismayed. "Do you know what you're saying, Yehudit? Would you sacrifice your life and honor on the slim chance that you might soften Holofernes' heart? We cannot allow you to make such a sacrifice for us." But Yehuda persisted. It has happened before that God sent his salvation through a woman. Hello. Yael, the wife of Heber, was her name. And you well know it was into her hands that God delivered the cruel Sisera. Uzziah and the elders attempted to discourage Yehuda from such a dangerous mission, but she insisted that she be allowed to try. Finally, they agreed. Yehuda passed through the gates of Bethula, dressed in her best clothes, which she had not worn since her husband passed away. A delicate veil all but hid her beautiful face. She was accompanied by her faithful maid, who carried on her head a basket filled with rolls, cheese, and several bottles of old wine. The sun had already begun to hide behind the green mountains when Yehudit and her maid found their way toward the enemy's camp, their lips whispering a prayer to God. Presently, they were stopped by the sentries, who demanded to know who they were and who sent them. "We have an important message for your commander, the brave Holofernes," Yehudit said. "Take us to him at once." "Who are you and why are you here?" Holofernes asked, his eyes feasting on his unexpected, charming visitor. "I am but a plain widow from Bethula. Yehudit is my name. I came to tell you how to capture the town, in the hope that you will deal mercifully with its inhabitants." Yehudit then told Holofernes that life in the beleaguered town had become unbearable for her, and that she had bribed the watchman to let her and her maid out. She went on to say that she had heard of Holofernes' bravery and mighty deeds in battle, and wished to make his acquaintance. Finally, she told Holofernes what he already knew, that the situation in the besieged town was desperate, that the inhabitants have very little food and water left. Yet, she said, their faith in God remained strong, and so long as they had faith, they would not surrender. On the other hand, she added, before long, every scrap of kosher food will be gone, and in desperation, they would begin to eat the flesh of unclean animals, and then God's anger would be turned against them, and the town would fall. "But how will I know when the defenders of the citadel will begin to eat unkosher food, as you say, so that I can then storm the walls and capture the city?" the commander of the besieging army asked. "I had a thought of that," Yehudit answered confidently. "I have arranged with the watchmen at the city's gates that I would come to the gate every evening to exchange information. I will tell them what's going on there, and they will tell me what's doing here." Holofernes was completely captivated by the charming young Jewish widow who had so unexpectedly entered his life and was now offering him the key to the city. "If you're telling me the truth, and you will indeed help me capture the city, you will be my wife," Holofernes promised. Then he gave orders that Yehudit and her maid were to have complete freedom to walk through the camp, and anyone attempting to molest them in any way would be put to death immediately. A comfortable tent was prepared for the two women next to his. The two women, veiled and wrapped in their shawls, could now be seen walking leisurely through the armed camp at any time during the day and evening. Fearful of the commander's strict orders, everyone gave them a wide berth. Soon, they attracted little, if any, attention. Yehudit could now walk up to the city's gates after dark, where she was met by a watchman. "Tell Uzziah that, thank God, everything is shaping up according to plan. With God's help, we shall prevail over our enemy. Keep your trust strong in God. Do not lose hope for a moment." Having delivered the message for the commander of the defense force of the city, Yehudit departed as quietly as she had appeared. The following evening, she came again to the city's gate and repeated the same message, adding that she had won Holofernes' complete confidence. In the meantime, Holofernes, having nothing special to do, spent most of his time drinking with and without his aides. When he was not completely drunk, he would send for Yehudit. She always came to his tent in the company of her maid. On the third day, he was already getting impatient. Well, gracious Yehudit, what intelligence do you bring me today? My men are getting impatient and demoralized, doing nothing. They cannot wait to capture the city and have their fun. I have very good news, General. There's not a scrap of kosher food left in the city now. In a day or two, famine will drive them to eat their cats and dogs and mules. Then God will deliver them unto your hands. Wonderful, wonderful. This is surely cause for a celebration. Tonight we'll have a party, just you and I. I shall expect you as my honored guest. Thank you, sir, Yehudit said. That evening, when Yehudit entered Holofernes' tent, the temple was laden with various delicacies. The table was laden with various delicacies. The general was delighted to welcome her and bade her partake of the feast. But Yehudit told him she had brought her own food and wine that she prepared especially for that occasion. My goat cheese is famous in all of Bethulia, Yehudit said. I'm sure you'll like it, General. He did. And he also liked the strong, undiluted wine she had brought. She fed him the cheese, chunk after chunk, and he washed it down with the wine. Before long, he was sprawled on the floor, dead drunk. Yehudit propped a pillow under his head and rolled him over on his face. Then she uttered a silent prayer. Answer me, O Lord, as you answered Yael, the wife of Heber, the Kenite, when you delivered the wicked general Sisera into her hands. Strengthen me this once, that I might bring your deliverance to my people, whom this cruel man vowed to destroy. And let the nations know that you have not forsaken us. Now Yehudit unsheathed Holofernes' heavy sword, and taking aim at his neck, she brought the sword down on it with all her might. For a moment, she sat down to compose herself. Then she wrapped up the general's head in rags, concealed it under her shawl, and calmly walked out into her own tent. Come quickly, she said to her maid, but let's not arouse suspicion. The two veiled women walked leisurely as usual until they reached the gates of the city. Take me to Uzziah at once, she said to the sentry. Uzziah could not believe his eyes as he stared at the gruesome prize Yehudit had brought him. There is no time to lose, she told the commander. Prepare your men for a surprise attack at dawn. The enemy's camp is not prepared for it. When they run into their commander's tent, they will find his headless body and they will flee for their lives. This is precisely what happened. The enemy fled in confusion and terror, leaving much booty behind. It was a wonderful victory, and it was the God-fearing and brave daughter of Yochanan, the high priest, the father of the Hasmonean family, that has saved the city of Bethulia and all its inhabitants. The end. Now, Mary. Okay. So Mary was born to, well, let me start from the beginning. Saint Anne and her husband, Saint Joaquin, were both up in age. They had never had a child. They were ridiculed in their neighborhood of what we now call Palestine. They were ridiculed for not having a child. It was like being, less than a man or a woman to not have born a child. So they prayed and they prayed. And finally, God spoke to them and gave them precise directions and instructions. Told them that they would have a child, but they'd have to give her to the church, basically. So that's what they did. They had a child who we now know as Mary, the mother of Jesus. And when she was 3, they took her to Jerusalem, basically to be raised in like a convent. And when she was a teenager, she had Jesus at 14. So, they raised her in the convent, but then she was promised to Joseph, who was far older than her and is, presumed and believed to have died even before the crucifixion, because they just stopped mentioning him in the scriptures, and he's not described as one of the people being present at who would be his son's, at least his stepson's crucifixion. So it's presumed that he died. And so Mary was another one of these female leaders. In other aspects, other parts of the scriptures, we hear her described, and we just celebrated recently one of the holidays where she is described as having been like basically God's right-hand man. She was a leader. And then came her son. You know, the Mariama before her was a leader. And then came her brother, Moses. This woman, Yehuda, Judith, was a leader. And then came the men. And so the same will be for us, those of us truly on this journey. Now, if you're on another one, that's fine. That's, you know, I don't know what comes with that one. People ask me about like, quote unquote, twin flame stuff all the time. So that's not what I do. This is what I do. All right. So that was Mary. That was Judith. Let's do the sky this week. I think I have time. So I'll start from Sunday. The days of viewing Saturn in the evening sky are dwindling rapidly. Still, you can find the ringed world nearly 10 degrees high in the southwest for an hour after sunset. The planet shines at a magnitude of 0.5 and lies on the border between the Serpent Bearer and Sagittarius. It crosses from the former constellation into the latter one today. Although the best views of Saturn through a telescope came earlier in this apparition, it never hurts to take a final look. This week, the planet's disk measures 15 inches across, while the ring system spans 35 inches and tilts 27 degrees to our line of sight. Monday, November 20th. Look for a 2-day waxing moon low in the southwest about 45 minutes after sunset. Although the slim crescent appears only 5% lit, its unlit portion should show the faint illumination of earthshine. If you turn your binoculars toward the moon, you'll also see Saturn 3 degrees to its lower left. Then scan toward the horizon and you should pick up Mercury 8 degrees directly below Luna. 8 and 3 together make 11. Tuesday, November 21st. Head outside a half hour before sunrise and you'll find Jupiter blazing low in the east-southeast. The giant planet glows at a magnitude -1.7 and stands out against the twilight. If you look 8 degrees to Jupiter's lower left, you should see magnitude -3.9 Venus gleaming just 5 degrees above the horizon. The two planets were in conjunction last week, but they are now pulling away from each other while Jupiter climbs higher and appears more prominent with each passing day. Venus dips closer to the sun's glare and soon will disappear. The moon reaches apogee, the farthest point in its orbit around Earth, at 1:53 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It then lies 252,358 miles from Earth's center. Wednesday, November 22nd, Neptune's westward motion against the background stars come to a halt today. The distant planet appears highest in the south around the end of the evening twilight and sets around midnight. The magnitude 7.9 world lies in Aquarius, 0.6 degrees south of the fourth magnitude star Lambda Aquarii. You'll need binoculars to spy Neptune and a telescope to see its blue-gray disk, which spans 2.3 inches. Thursday, November 22nd. After the sun sets this evening, look low in the southwest for Mercury. For observers at 35 degrees north latitude, the innermost planet lies 7 degrees above the horizon, just 30 minutes after sunset. Binoculars will help you to find the magnitude -0.4 object in the twilight glow. Today marks the peak of Mercury's evening apparition because it reaches its maximum elongation from the sun, which is 22 degrees, master number 22 or 1111. Friday, November 24th. Although Thanksgiving weekend signifies autumn to many people, the stars of both summer and winter appear prominent in late November's evening sky. If you head out around 9 p.m. local time and look toward the west, you'll see the bright stars of the summer triangle. These three luminaries, Vega, Deneb, and Altair, stand out nicely. Deneb appears highest while the brightest Vega lies farthest to the north. Now, if you turn around and face east, you'll find stars normally associated with winter. Betelgeuse, Regal, Aldebaran and Capella all clear the horizon before 8 p.m. and appear conspicuous an hour later. The variable star Algol in Perseus reaches minimum brightness at 3:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning. If you start watching it late this evening, you can see its brightness diminish by 70% over the course of about 5 hours as its magnitude drops from 2.1 to 3.4. This eclipsing binary star runs through a cycle from minimum to maximum and back every 2.87 days. Algol appears nearly overhead around 11 p.m. local time and remains well above the northwestern horizon until dawn. Saturday, November 25th, the last day for which this reading is. While the stars of summer and winter remain on view these late November evenings, the stars of spring are not so lucky. The Big Dipper swings low in the north at this time of year. Although this conspicuous asterism never sets from much of the United States and Canada, it does come close, and the star at the end of the handle, magnitude 1.9 Eta in Urus Majoris, does dip below the horizon around 9 p.m. local time for viewers south of 40 degrees north latitude. Mars, not many. Mars stands out in the eastern sky before dawn this week. The magnitude 1.7 red planet rises more than 3 hours before the sun and appears 20 degrees high as twilight starts to paint the sky. It resides among the background stars of Virgo, and this morning it appears 4 degrees above the maiden's brightest star, which is first magnitude Spica. Unfortunately, the view through a telescope proves disappointing. Mars spans just 4 inches and shows no detail. And lastly, Sunday, November 26th, the first quarter moon occurs at 12:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as darkness descends across the northern hemisphere this evening. Observers will find the half-lit moon due south in nearly halfway from the horizon zenith. Our satellite spends the night in the constellation Aquarius, the water bearer. And that's the end. That was from astronomy.com, of course, the sky this week. And I'm going to go to the dice. Also, there's Thanksgiving in the United States this week. That is on the 23rd. I didn't mention that. My mother calls it misgivings. Well, I mean, it's understandable for her, at least. She is half Cherokee and some Catawba as well. So indigenous people from the United States, not too big on Thanksgiving, as, you know, other than the fact that you get together with family, you know, if that. Of course, the Native American, the largest genocide in the world ever. So some of us may wish to remember that. I'm not pressuring you though. All right, so here's the dice. And I think King Osiris is being funny. Again, because I promised you I dropped these dice. They were on 29 and I forget what all they were on. None of those are here now. You know what's here now? Romantic dinner again. Email again. And eat cake again. So I think he's saying, don't forget to celebrate my birthday. Spirit also says massage, party, and it's 50-50. Going to the cards, the Angel Tarot, I'm beginning with the Moon with Archangel Haniel. So the Moon never fails to show up during one of my Moon readings or during one of my readings for the week in which the Moon activity falls. So, you know, true to form, the moon is here. Oh, look what it's showing me. Look at the cards it's showing me. Not only the moon, the sun with Archangel Uriel. Happy times, happy outcome, brilliant new ideas that lead to success. Have confidence in yourself. When the moon and the sun show up, it means that something, you know, like there's a saying, what's done in the dark always comes to light. It means it's time. Okay, what was done in the dark is coming out. So some truths or just mysteries, maybe things you didn't know, may come out today. Magician also wanting to be seen. You are ready. You have the resources or the ability to manifest them. Life is magical. Oh, I got to tell you something funny about that. Well, not funny, haha, but coincidental, quote unquote coincidental. The moon, important psychic insights, events behind the scenes, release fears that hold you back. Of course, the moon, I don't even know where I got this from. Now I open to the Tower. I'm going to put these cards back here. The Tower, or life experience in this deck with Archangel Chamuel, is all about a significant life event and a powerful revelation that leads to change. That means you might say, like the light bulb may go off and you may go, oh, I get it now. And you start to do something differently. It's time to spread your wings. The moon, of course, represents the sign of Pisces. So I talked about Pisces a little bit, and about, again, on the 22nd, Neptune, which rules Pisces and is in retrograde, goes direct in Pisces. Also in the tarot, the moon card represents the sign of Pisces. But the moon, Earth's moon, rules Cancer. And this card can also, have to do with other water signs like Cancer or Scorpio. The sun in the tarot, similarly, represents the sign of Sagittarius. But the sun, Earth's star, rules the sign of Leo. That card can also be about Aries, all fire signs. And lastly, the Magician that showed up for me is all about Gemini, right? The one of the three mutable signs that is dual. So not only are they, can they do everything all 11 of the other zodiac signs can do, but times 2. So that Gemini, but other air signs, perhaps. We're already seeing all this stuff. We're already seeing water, fire, and air. Aquarius, Libra. Now, I was talking about the Magician, and what I was saying was funny, and it's because I pulled out my Angels of Atlantis cards. That's not what they're called, but these are the Angels of Atlantis that are in this deck. And I'm beginning with Raziel. When I do begin, they call it Enigma, this card. And Raziel is like the Magician. When he shows up, he's there to help to enlighten you. I guess he's kind of like the Hermit too. He's there to enlighten you. He's there to increase your gifts. But he's like the Magician for me because he can, he has it all. He has all the elements and he has all of the metaphysical gifts. So it's like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, like everything. So I thought that was funny when I opened to Magician. All right, so I'm getting back to this and opening right away to the Knight of Fire. Passionate, adventurous, self-assured, and restless is the Knight of Fire. This may be a Sagittarius, which the sun enters on the 21st. A sudden event that needs immediate attention. Time is of the essence. Think things through carefully. The moon. We can also have the Knight of Fire coming in and representing Scorpio in connection to the moon, although Scorpio is not a fire sign. Scorpio is in part ruled by Mars. And we did hear about all that activity going on with Mars, the red planet. Okay. And opening to this Eight of Air, not one of my favorites. An illusion of being trapped, a lack of self-confidence, being afraid to take action. So the moon guides us to release our fears, right? Release fears that hold you back. Let go of that Eight of Air energy is what it's saying. And speaking of releasing fears or releasing anything, it's release or death, which absolutely represents the sign of Scorpio, or perhaps other water sign, Cancer, Pisces. It's the end of a phase or situation. Spiritual transformation is coming. It's time to move on. And speaking of spiritual transformation and of Archangel Raziel and in increasing gifts and stuff, I heard Bobby Shmurda twice yesterday. And when I hear Bobby Shmurda, those of you who have watched me before know that that means ascension for me. And it always comes to pass. Speaking of things come to pass, I pulled that darn proper burial for freedom, sacrifice to Osiris card. And the day the day I pulled it, I began to hear from some of you with losses in your family. So I apologize. My most sincere condolences to anyone who has lost a loved one. Okay, back to this. And opening to the 5 of fire. Competing goals, bothersome details, conflict with others. For me, the 5 of fire, as opposed to the 5 of air or swords, tends to be about close family close friends and or family or oneself, like inner turmoil. Moon is back. I'll go one more. And it's the 7 of earth. Seeds well planted, a temporary pause in action, unnecessary worry. The 5 of fire can also represent Mars, that aggressive kind of fire energy that's sometimes not very attractive. I first and foremost, when I think of that energy, not so much think of Sagittarius, possibly Scorpio. They can be kind of ornery, but certainly Aries, Leo. And, I say that as lovingly as possible. As a Leo rising, it is what it is. All the zodiac signs have negatives and positives to them. Okay, let's cut. Very nice. It's the 10 of water, a contented and rewarding family life. Your emotional and material needs are met. Trustworthy relationships. So this can be about couples. This is the 10 of water, but there's only 2 people in this card. Actually, there's a child back here. So it's like a family, but the couple is here together. This can be about, again, Thanksgiving in the United States. This can be about the parties, maybe some Scorpio birthdays, maybe some Sagittarius birthdays popping off, and we're getting together, we're having fun. And the overall energy is the High Priestess, which for me is a Gemini or perhaps a water sign. So again, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer. It's Gemini in part because of the 2. Again, the dual nature. It's about 2s are about faith, 2s are about partnership, 2s are about duality. So that can very much be Gemini. Also, the High Priestess in real life is a Gemini. And so that is why I associate this card first and foremost with Gemini, but of course also water signs. Listen to your intuition. Have patience and consider carefully. I don't know what Raphael had to say. Okay. Consider carefully what you want before acting. So this is like, don't just pop off or run off half-cocked. Like, be honest with yourself. So if you are that 5 of fire yourself, let's say, work that conflict out. Maybe take on a little Archangel Raziel, hermit style, and even magician style. Go within, manifest what you want, and then go get it. Like the High Priestess, she's somewhat methodical in that I compare it kind of like with Geminis. People sometimes think that we can, take and take and take. We can just keep taking things and we never get angry and stuff. And it is true that we don't hold on to any kind of energy for too long. Whatever emotion we're in, it doesn't last very long. Everything is fleeting. But the reason we take things and take and take and take before we explode and pop off on you is not because we're not in control of that. It's because we very much are. And we like to make sure that we are done. Like, for example, we are done with you. So we're going to take as much crap of you while we still want to hang around you. We're going to continue to take your crap. We're going to take as much as we can stand. And then when we've decided, you know what, I don't like this person very much. I don't care if I ever see them again. And it's really like that. Like, if I ever see them again. When we get to that, that's when Queen of Swords or Ace of Swords and you're cut off. And we really don't care if we ever see you again. So that's what she's careful about. Let me think about my words and think about my actions before I do them. Because there's like no coming back from me. That's my style. Okay. We may have a love reading again already this week, because with the animal tarot, I'm starting with the 2 of summer. And let's see, our overall energy here is a 2. That's a 2. That's an 11-11 already. Masculine, this 7 of earth. Seeds well planted. You may be at a temporary pause in action. So if you feel like nothing's happening, nothing's moving, don't panic. That would be unnecessary worry. Masculine is surrounded by release. Of course you are. Or death in the tarot. The end of a phase or a situation. Okay, you're transitioning, transforming. It's time to move on from whatever that old stagnant energy was. Whatever existed prior to you harvesting that and then planting new seeds. It's time to, be done. We ate that food. It's gone. And now we're waiting for something new. New plenty. And in the masculine subconscious, it's the 6 of earth. This is one of my favorite cards in the whole deck. Represents for me the planet Venus, because of the fact that she rules both Libra and Taurus. And this card says Libra and Taurus to me, like it screams it. That's not the only reason it's like one of my favorite cards. It's one of my favorite cards because to me, it speaks of true, pure, unadulterated, unsolicited, unconditional love. Whether it's of the romantic sort or it's just of, quote unquote, human nature and being kind to one another, like a brotherhood. Giving and receiving without agenda. Which is one of the most beautiful things there is to me. So this is in the masculine subconscious, which is awesome. The feminine, the moon with Archangel Haniel. Important psychic insights. Events behind the scenes. Release fears that hold you back. So both the feminine and the masculine guided to let go and transform, basically. Change energy, move into something new. And there's a desire to move on too. The search for something more meaningful, spiritual, and emotional growth. Okay, here comes Archangel Raziel yet again. And in the feminine subconscious, it's the Ace of Fire, an exciting new opportunity, career advancement. Change your life now. So you have an opportunity to move on too, and you're considering it here. Crowning. It's the Chariot. Awesome. This is movement. And crossing the 8 of water, which is also about movement, and the crossing death, which is about transformation or movement, and the moon and letting go. This is really beautiful. The Chariot represents the sign of Cancer or other water signs, Scorpio, Pisces. Here this Chariot is pulled by Archangel Metatron, patron of all light beings. An important achievement, self-discipline and willpower. Also public recognition. So this transformation and this spiritual growth and moving on can be what we're celebrating. This can be the ascension that caused me to hear Bobby Shmurda that we've been expecting. That can be why there's been a temporary pause. Like, hold on a second, you're going to go through something this weekend with this moon and the other really strong energy of the spiritual energy, the astrology, the astronomy, all the stuff we talked about. You're going to be really elevated this week. Aww, and once again, they did it to me again. They did this last week. This time they're crossing King Osiris's card, Queen Isis's card. We got 2 6s here too. Last week was sort of an extra theme in the reading, the number 66. We got the 19 here. 13 plus 6 is 19, of course. We have death crossing the lovers. Intimate relationships. Carefully weigh your decisions. Good health. So this is at our root, at our foundation. Beautiful. At the heart of the matter, the 4 of air. Time to rest or take a vacation. Allow more time before making a decision. Meditation may provide answers. For some of us, this is about actual vacation. Again, people are going to be traveling. It's a holiday time in the United States. So we're going to be visiting family, spending time with family. And this can be a real vacation, as can the Chariot. Maybe not so much the 8 of water or death. These are more metaphorical movement, growth, transition, transformation. And again, the moon is information that's hidden, the need for us to use our intuition and think things through, and to release or death to our fears and our ego. I don't really have anything to necessarily quantify or clarify here, that's problematic. So I'm just going to go on to the animal tarot and see what that will add. Beginning again with the Two of Summer. In lovebirds, you're falling in love or experiencing a deepening of emotion in your current relationship. Marriages or romantic partnerships in distress can still be saved. Don't give up. And opening to the Princess of Spring. And that don't give up. I want to carry that over from the story of Judith, right? She said people that have faith, they don't give up. And again, if you're on this journey, this one that I read for and about, that surrounds the scriptures, the prophecies, right? Whether you're talking about the Torah, the Quran, the Bible. When I say the scriptures, I mean all of them. The prophecies, the ancient texts, right? The Book of Thoth, the Emerald Tablets, also believed to have been written by Thoth, a real archaeological discovery, not something that somebody just like dreamt up. Not that that's always, an untruth. Just that if we have facts available, why not use them instead? And those facts demonstrate the need to maintain our faith and our path. So again, going to the Princess of Spring, which is the Page of Spring, and is likely a Sagittarius, but can also be an Aries or a Leo or somebody of those attributes or traits. Creative opportunities that you feel passionate about are fluttering your way like a butterfly. Butterfly also very much associated to Scorpio and Gemini for me, and transformation. Personal growth and broaden horizons will spark fresh and original ideas. So these can be ideas in love or something that brings you emotional fulfillment, opposite the Two of Summer, which is back. And opening to the King of Autumn, who is a Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus. Something was coming in about Taurus for a second. I lost it. I don't know what that was. In any case, the King of Autumn is compassionate, accomplished, charismatic, and grounded. Everything's going to turn out great. Projects will be stunningly successful. Exciting new career opportunities are coming. They're possible. And money or resources that come your way will be invested wisely. This can also be about money, these cards, the Seven of Earth, the Six of Earth. This can be gifts of money or like grants and scholarships, like those kind of opportunities. Two of Summer back, and opening to the Princess of Winter, who for me is a Gemini as the Page or Princess, but can also be a Libra or an Aquarius. Logical, truthful, curious, and undiplomatic, or somebody taking on those traits or attributes. This is an intellectual challenge that calls upon your ability to think of matching solution. If helpful information is put to you bluntly, accept the message without being bothered by the messenger. So there could be truths, again, coming out, having seen the moon and the sun, truths coming out about love, about your relationships, things you didn't know. That doesn't mean they're bad. You just didn't know. But it's coming to light now. What's this behind the Two of Summer that wants to be seen? The Three of Summer. Maybe this is about King Osiris's party, or the party that we're going to have. You have an exciting reason to celebrate, such as an engagement, wedding, graduation, or birth announcement. Remember to cherish those you love. Two of Summer still here, and opening to the Seven of Summer. It's time to stop procrastinating and to make a decision. This Four of Air at the heart of the matter can be about a decision, as can the Lovers, to be honest. So make that decision so that you can move forward with a priority. If you need to do more research, then do so. Just don't overthink the situation. Listen to your heart. Very important message. Can be a message, a decision about a Two of Summer, a Two of Cups, your romantic relationship or your friendships, a close, family situation, or some sort of partnership, even if it's a business partnership. And now the Seven of Summer at the bottom. I'm going to cut. And we're back to the Seven of Summer here. Very nice. The overall energy is the King of Spring. Inspiring, dramatic, ambitious, and wise. This can easily be Mars or even Jupiter this week. It's also the quintessential divine masculine of the tarot. It can also be that Scorpio, again, with Mars being one of Scorpio's rulers. In any case, now's your moment to step up to a leadership role. Don't back away from the spotlight, as your plans will be successful as long as you stay focused upon the big picture. So in other words, as long as you maintain your faith. And look at the moon here. And it is like a new moon sort of thing. You can only see a crescent lit. That's it. That's how a new moon appears in the sky. Atop the Seven of Earth, it's 11, or strength. True strength is displayed through kindness, forgiveness, and compassion. You have tremendous personal power and courage. Of course, strength represents the sign of Leo and is one of the cards I mentioned in the beginning, as it was 838 when I begun. Also represents for me Saint Germain and Lady Portia, the 8 and the 11. So the strength may be the to have increased patience and to not panic here. Let go of any fear or worry that you would have otherwise had while you're awaiting your harvest. Atop release or death, it's the Five of Winter. Your current path isn't leading you toward the happiest possible outcome, so why not change it? Okay, this is a message to those who are holding on to it, who are like trying to avoid the phase or the transformation, maybe because you're afraid of change. You know, you've got that fear going, but it's not conducive to, you know, your journey or, you know, anything positive and a positive outcome for you. Always maintain integrity and compassion. But be alert to the hidden agendas of others, because the Five of Winter, if there's somebody, for example, who is interjecting themselves into your transformation or your transition and maybe trying to talk you out of a change or something like that, you got to wonder what they're up to, what that's about. Because the Five of Winter for me, as many of you know, tends to be about not just challenge or change, but when it is challenge or difficulty, it's like conflict that we, at least in part, brought upon ourselves. Even if it wasn't, you know, in a malicious way, we didn't mean to, but we set some sort of wheels in motion, either directly or indirectly, by allowing somebody else to steer us wrong. You know, we kind of knew that wasn't the right thing to do, but, you know, like peer pressure and that sort of thing. So be mindful of that this week. Here atop the Six of Earth, get ready for progress to speed up. The situation requires you to choose logic and intellect over emotion and to make your decisions quickly. So this has to do with whether or not you're going to give or receive freely and without agenda. You won't have much time to decide. Choose or stand by your integrity, basically, is what this is saying. The Prince of Winter is a Libra, maybe, about justice and doing the right thing. An Aquarius or a Gemini. Atop the moon, it's the Ace of Winter. Definitely about truth coming out for a whole bunch of us. That's what the Ace of Winter does. The Ace of Winter is also a card of victory. It would be sitting here next to the Chariot, which is another card of victory. It's victory upon victory upon victory. Everything is good when you make the right decisions and choices. Implementation of your brilliant new idea may get off to a rocky start, right? Maybe you had a tough time letting go of the old and making way for the new, but it's a start nonetheless. Keep going. The challenges will help to refine your plan and to reshape your goals into something even better. Atop the 8 of water, and moving on to something bigger and better, maybe, unity, or the high priest, or the Hierophant in the tarot, which represents the sign of Taurus. It's funny, I got stuck on that Taurus message and I never got it back. Embrace this time of deep spiritual growth. You may feel called to act as a mentor, or to find a new teacher, or to spend time with others who are also on a sacred path. So this, especially, this is a 5, but it's a stronger 5 than this one. This is major arcana. This is minor arcana. This is a 5 telling you to watch out for those with whom you surround yourself, like your people, the frenemies, your environment. You may want to transform yourself right on out of that clique or whatever it is, says the high priest, and go ahead and move on like you've been desiring to do. Move on from them. Those people, there's some people that are not on the same journey or path as you. They are not as enlightened. They are not as quote unquote conscious, as they say, or woke. And it's time to get up away from them, basically. Also, especially crossing the lovers, the Hierophant can be about relationship. And coming into commitment. And that would be victorious too, especially if it's on the heels of conflict and challenge and difficulty. It was a hard road getting here, but we're here now. We're together in love, like the 2 of water, 2 of summer. Here atop the, and as I say all that, okay, in a little L shape here, it's a backward one, but it's an L nonetheless. It's a 90-degree angle, renewal or judgment, which also represents the sign of Scorpio for me, and the planet Pluto, which I said is going to be in a very lovely transit with Venus, ruler of Gemini, on Tuesday. Okay, and here atop the Ace of Fire, this can absolutely be a beautiful new opportunity for love. New love, or love anew, renewed love, and maybe even to get the wand, although the sex dice didn't show up today. As it relates to work and things like that, it means your boss is watching. He wants to give you a raise, a promotion. So this can be about the ascension too, you know, and being elevated. As it relates, you know, to general meaning, the general meaning is not to be, you know, too judgmental, too hard on yourself or others. Okay. Think things through, use a little exercise, a little compassion, like the Queen of Autumn would do. And the Queen of Autumn sits here atop the lovers. So this is Venus all the way, right? This is Venus, ruler of Gemini, ruler of Taurus, showing both of her elements. You will be given advice that's both practical and creative, and it should be followed precisely. Focus only upon the positive in every situation or person. The Queen of Autumn is thoughtful, caring, creative, and ingenious. She's also a Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus. And crowning here atop the Chariot, it's the Princess of Autumn, or the Page. So here comes the money and the abundance from Venus. She's telling us that's what's going on right now. A wonderful opportunity related to your work or education, such as a promotion or a scholarship, is coming your way. Seize this chance to learn something exciting or to start a more rewarding and uplifting career or relationship, okay? You're in the driver's seat. You are driving the chariot. You're pulling the chariot. And at the heart of the matter, atop the 4 of air, it's the 5 of spring. This whole row. So we didn't get our doubles this week from the 2 decks, but look what we got. A row of 5s. And I saw this number over and over all week. And as a matter of fact, I mentioned it, that the King Osiris reading I did, which is 55 minutes and 55 seconds long, by the way, 55 equals 11. As I was doing that reading, I mentioned that I was doing it at 5:55. So I think that this may have something to do with him, the Scorpio King and the Scorpio Moon and all that stuff. And this is the change, some of which will be challenging. We will be called, you know, to grab our balls and our strength and make some decisions, sometimes with our intellect, sometimes with our emotions, sometimes with a little bit of both, a little compassion and a little logic. to make those choices. This again can be Mars too. Occasionally, you may experience clashes with others. If you decide the matter is worth your energy, because it's not always going to be. Sometimes we're going to walk away from these people and get new friends, new, people with whom to fellowship that align better with our vibration, especially if our vibration continues to rise. If we're being elevated, we're surpassing these people. Nothing against them. We're all created equal in essence, but we don't jive anymore. Okay? If you decide the matter is worth your energy, then do what you can to minimize the conflict without sacrificing your goals or beliefs. So again, this is going to be about protecting your integrity. Okay, remaining the ace of winter at all times. And from this deck, again, I'm beginning with Archangel Raziel and opening to Gabriel. This is God's messenger. Now, Raziel, I didn't tell you this part, I don't think. I just mentioned Gabriel as God's messenger, and it reminded me. Raziel is like the keeper of God's holy secrets. Gabriel here. This may have to do with Mercury. Either the Mercury sounded like funky transit on Thursday, or what we read about Mercury in the astronomy, or the retrograde, Mercury having entered its shadow, can have something to do with Gabriel here. And Haniel, also known as Daniel to some, the archangel of marriage and love, not to be confused with Chamuel, the archangel of unconditional love. This is just love. And it's funny that this card is called Loyalty with Daniel on it, or Haniel, because many believe that Daniel is a dark angel. And if you look him up, I'm sure you'll find him listed, or her listed, however you want to. All the angels at that time were male, written as male. You'll find him listed as both a dark angel and an angel of the light. I guess he found his loyalty, or he returned to his loyalties, and he left like the foolishness and the peers that were trying to bring him down with the negativity and their negative agenda. He left them alone. He was conflicted by the whole thing, and he said, I got to get up out of here. And he went to a more spiritual direction. He went back to the light. That's the story of Daniel. And it's funny because my oldest daughter, one of her favorite movies is Now You See Me. And she loves magicians in general and stuff like that. So Now You See Me too, one of the magicians, his name is Daniel, actually. And he got very dark angelish, like I'm God in the movie. And then he had at the end, or by the end, he has a turnaround and he sort of comes back to the light. I don't know how many people caught that part of the movie. I certainly did, because I know the scriptures and I know who Archangel Daniel is, or what it means to be named Daniel and have that behavior. But yeah, I doubt many caught it. So that's why this loyalty stood out to me. It is, and this line here is about deciding by really going within and using your logic and wit and wisdom, and the experiences through which you've gone, and the fact that victory is just, ahead of you in sight, and it is. Use all that, and also use, your compassion and maybe even a little emotion to come to a realistic decision for you about your personal environment and with what and whom you want to surround yourself, whether that's romantic or, otherwise. Gabriel, and opening to Archangel Sandalphon and assurance. Archangel Sandalphon, one of only 2 archangels to have ascended directly into heaven. They didn't have to taste death, as the scriptures say. You know who the other one was? Metatron, right? of all light workers. And I'm back to Raziel. So on this note, although this is a different card for him, this is devotion. But on this note, having come back to Raziel, I will cut Gabriel back on the bottom. And it's Michael, protection. So Michael is actually the ace of winter in many ways, because he's the ace of swords, or the sword in the scripture. Also, of course, the prince of the archangels, or the prince of angels, period, the leader of the angels, the prince of hosts, he's also called. Also, ironically, I just was talking about Daniel. In the book of Daniel, he's mentioned 3 times. He's the only archangel that is referred to by God, as it's written, as not only an archangel, but the archangel. And what else I wanted? There was something else I was going to tell you about Michael that had come to mind as I was shuffling these cards up in my hand. Maybe that's it. I mean, that was plenty. Well, okay, I remember. Like Jesus, I also referred to as the prince. So if you want to think like an ace of winter, you can put it together. I've said this before anyway. But like Jesus, the only being referred to in the scriptures as the long suffering, or other than Jesus, Archangel Michael is the only being referred to, again, by God, as it's written, as the long suffering. So that would explain these challenges and things here too. And I guess there was a reason why I went into a whole Archangel Daniel spiel as well. And maybe that will come forward. So I think it's also not a quote unquote coincidence that we have the Prince of Winter opposite the Ace of Winter, or mirroring the Ace of Winter. Both would represent the sword. That's another thing. All through the scriptures, God says, I will send my sword. I will send my sword. You know, you can figure out what that means too, using a little Ace of Winter or Prince of Winter logic. I always tell people, I always say it and use it because the name Queen of Swords was given to me by God. I didn't make it up. Especially Queen of Swords, the Lightworker, and similar to Archangel Michael, not just a Lightworker, the Lightworker. I always say, God says, I will send my sword. Okay, they call me the sword. He doesn't say, I'll send my cup, I'll send my rod, I'll send my earth. I will send my sword. And he knows these other terms. The other terms are in the scriptures too. The scripture speaks of rod. Scripture speaks of cups, right? Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. My cup runneth over. And of course, Mother Earth. But he specifically says, I will send my sword. So there's that. And off of the soapbox and back to the reading, the overall energy is Jophiel, Archangel Jophiel, who is the Archangel of beauty, both inside and out, and of our homes too. She can help us with feng shui. She can help us with decluttering. Right, I work with a lot of people on decluttering. I actually just posted a little tiny snippet, very like maybe 3 lines of an email I received from one of my clients. I had worked with her sister, and her parents with Divine Light Cleanse. And one of the things that kept coming up for them was this decluttering. So they've tackled it and, you know, never had the energy before. You may have even called them hoarders in the past, but they've cleaned out the parents' home and on to the sister's home, and they're going to work on the other sister's business and getting that, you know, up and running and opened. It's just a beautiful thing. Archangel Jophiel is probably one of the angels who showed up to continue to push them as well. And look what this card is about. Celebration. So this reading has been about celebration, right? Party. The 3 of Cups showed up, wanted to be seen, about celebration. We're happy. We're getting into relationships, or we are becoming enlightened, right? With the unity card sitting here under the moon, we're coming into enlightenment. We're growing spiritually. We're finally victorious in our own inner conflict, even in deciding what we want and going after it, clearing away different things from our environment that we don't need, reuniting with a beloved, maybe starting brand new relationships, starting anew. We're reconciling now. All of that happening maybe in part because we let Jophiel in and we were able to recognize the beauty in us and around us too. So here is our advice. And it's interesting because I just noticed what I did. Normally I give the masculine their card first, and I just gave the feminine the card first. So this would have any other time gone to the masculine. It'll be interesting to see what it is. Okay. So I'm going to start with this one here on the bottom, which is from the Animal Tarot to the masculine. We've got the whole court for the suit of autumn, I believe. We had the king. Here's the queen. Here's the princess. The 6 of earth is under here. The 7 is under here. Here's the prince of autumn, or the knight. It's important to make a detailed plan before starting any new endeavor. Once you have the plan in place, then you can take immediate action and get as much accomplished as possible. So this sounds kind of high priestess-ish. The Prince of Autumn is more methodical and always reaches his goal, right? The Knight of Autumn. He is trustworthy, dedicated, protective, and funny. This can be a Leo, no, not at all a Leo, a Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn, like these other members of the court. So if this is the masculine, if this is his energy, he's just to know that he is like remaining on path. It may be slow and steady wins the race, but is that a bad thing? Just think of yourself, the tortoise and the hare. Yes, the hare is by far the faster of the two, but he lost, right? He lost the race. The tortoise won because he had a method, Feminine, the 8 of winter. No reason for us to be feeling stuck when we're the ace of winter as well. And we're surrounded by all this major arcana energy is too. The high priestess and judgment. Okay, so we don't need to feel like this. It's so easy to convince yourself that you're trapped when you're really not. Trust that God will lift you to new heights. Okay, this is about the elevation again. New heights, and give you greater self-confidence if you affirm your freedom. So this is about us first reclaiming our own lives, acknowledging, I'm making a mess now, but it's important, that we are in the driver's seat and we're taking our freedom. There's a Jill Scott song like that. I'm taking my freedom, putting it on the show, living my life like it's golden, right? This is when you take back control of your life. Another song as I was doing this reading had come to mind, and I had temporarily blocked it out. Oh, yes, I know what it was. As I first, right before I started the reading, I had heard on the news that Keith Partridge, which is David, not David Carradine, geez. David Carradine's from Kung Fu. He passed away. I don't know. They were saying it was suicide, possibly murder, was a whole weird thing. He's not who I'm trying to think of, and not David Copperfield. Why am I having this? Maybe because I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it, but he's in a coma. Keith Partridge. I can't think of the name, but as soon as I heard that, the song that he used to sing on the Partridge Family, I Think I Love You, that ran through me. And I think I was supposed to mention it was in connection to this, but again, at the same time, I guess, because that's like part of my childhood, so I guess I'm like sort of blocking it out. He's a lot older than me, but it's still part of my childhood. The Partridge Family. It used to come on like after the Brady Bunch or something like that when I was little. He had this song, or they had this song, but Keith was like the lead singer in that one. I Think I Love You. So what am I so afraid of? I'm afraid that I'm not sure of a love there is no cure for. And I think that that's a lot of, not just the masculine, actually, the feminine too. That can be what this is of what we go through. Like, this is just so much love. Like, once I allow myself to get in it, there's like no turning back and no getting out of it. Like the high priestess, like that Gemini thing I was talking about. Like there's no turning back. And that's why I'm afraid to take the leap toward it. Because then what? You know? But you got to give yourself that chance. The answer to then what, you know, is stuff like this. The Knight of Water, who is emotional, romantic, enthusiastic, and contemplative. Falling in love or wedding proposals. The need to balance emotions and maybe even an invitation to a social event. The Knight of Water, like the huge big main event of today, of this week and today, absolutely, is a Scorpio. Or maybe a Pisces or Cancer or somebody taking on those traits or attributes, feeling particularly emotional and or loving. For the feminine, it's ego. This is more fear. Ego or the devil and the Eight of Winter are like the same card for me. The only difference is one is major arcana and one is minor. Same type of funky, scared energy. A false sense of entrapment, being overly focused on material things and maybe even negative or fear-based thoughts. So we don't want those to lead us. We want to lead with this, our integrity, some wit, some logic, some common sense. That's going to go a long way, I promise you. And from the angels of Atlantis to the masculine, boom, Shamael and reconciliation. Reconciliation coupled with the Knight of Water, with judgment here on the table, having sitting here under the Hierophant, having already had started with the Two of Water or Two of Cups, renewal or judgment, sitting next to the Lovers, which is crossing the Death card, which represents the divine couple of all time. Like, you know, this is the makings of some really, really good stuff in partnerships. I'd say even business partnerships with all this earth on the table, there's money to be made too. And as the earth relates to romantic relationships or even friendships, they're meant to go a long way. So if you do come back together right now in any kind of partnership, it is 50-50, just like what's on the masculine's mind, right? The Six of Earth. Give and take without agenda, just because love. Just because love. Unconditional love. This Prince of Winter can be Venus, right? Running up on you with the love. And the money, because that's what she does. And to the feminine, from the angels of Atlantis, it is Gabriel and insight. What did I say? Boom. I said it was coming into enlightenment, and that was going to change everything, right? We can actually make some information-based decisions and movements. These beautiful cards, by the way, for which I am very grateful, are quote unquote hashtag fan mail. Right? These are from one of my clients. She sent me quite a few decks, actually, maybe like 3 that I use pretty regularly. And again, very thankful to have them. I'm going to start with the feminine and insight because that one is listed first in the book. We hanker for insight when life appears dull or obtuse. And in this moment, that ancient part of your soul, the part that knows all things, is streaming into your consciousness to awaken rare delight. What is happening at the heart of this situation you are currently involved in? Step back, detach, and in stillness review the scenario. Okay, very high priestess right there. Then when you penetrate the core of what is really occurring, and just like the ancients of days, overshadowed by Gabriel's heart in the icon, you will compass its essence through your intuition. Yeah, very, very high priestess. Sensing the soul of the person. In consequence, a flash of pure insight will occur. Therefore, reflect on the emblazoned dignity of your heart for that aspect of your Akashic connection, and all will be revealed. Chant Ah to celebrate this counsel in your heart chakra, the great and delicate anahata, as you feel the presence of Gabriel's heart siegel. So this is saying, like, again, we're going to know everything we need to know to make our decisions and be able to go after our heart's desires, basically, in summation. And for the masculine, Shamael, as the divine guide, is always present for you to help you to reap reconciliation from conflict. Okay? No matter what level or theme or operation. So it doesn't matter if it's minor arcana conflict or conflict with a stranger, conflict with a family member or a close friend, or if it's something heavier, like you got to change your whole environment. Shamael can still help you. He's always present for you to help you with reconciliation, no matter what the conflict or what level of the theme or operation. So whatever method or means these people use to create conflict with you, or the energy of conflict is, don't worry about it. He can help you. The ritual of reconciliation is an expression of the infinite and therefore inclusively part of the angels' consciousness, for they comprehend the nature of duality on this planet, even though other planetary domains they serve do not have similar vibrational fields. Many major reconciliations are taking place at this time on our planet, as we saw with Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev in 1989, which that was one of the things I read about, either, I think in the reading for the 19th. The 19th may be the anniversary of that, or of their meeting or something. When you check out the beginning of that reading that I did for the 19th. In any case, Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev in 1989 bringing closure to the Cold War. This was when the strife that had raged for years between the Soviets of the East and the capitalists of the West came to a point of closure. So even, something that great, that level of conflict was able to be healed with the help of Shamael. This was an act of supreme significance, bringing further national actions of reconciliation, which define the interconnectivity of our species. Therefore, the choice of this card propels you to review your own life to see if reconciliation is necessary, and then to complete the action with Shamael's heartfelt aid. This can be easily achieved, sending all negativity into the violet flame. Research the ritual if you don't know it, and then drenching the person or establishment or location in the lilac ray of Shamael's infinite love and forgiveness. Chant Ah. Isn't it awesome how we both got the same chant and the same chakra? That is the heart chakra. Chant Ah through your heart chakra, the Anahata, to surround yourself with the intention of loving grace. And on that note, #turn up. It's a party. Enjoy your week. Happy Thanksgiving. And I'll talk to you afterward. Namaste, angels.